So if your armhole is 8.5 inches, then you need to divide that by 3. And whatever that measurement is what you're going to measure up and place a notch. 1/3 the distance. This is the rule. 1/3 the total distance or 3 inches. And the reason that we have this rule is because technically in adult clothing it's 3 inches. Just if you did on like a size 8 and you did 1/3 of the length of what the standard armhole is, it would be 2 and 32nd something, I don't know, 32nd 64th, something close to 3 inches. So you're just going to, and I made that number up, I don't even know if it's close to 3 inches. You're just going to rely on the 3 inches. Now let's say that you're making something for your niece or nephew and they're just born. 3 inches is off the charts. It's not even anywhere on the pattern. So this is why we have the rule 1/3 the total distance or 3 inches. In adults, you're going to get the 3 inches. So just say 3 inches. On the back, you're going to do the same thing. I always establish it on a bodice or the top portion and then translate it to the sleeve because that's just what I was taught. But I know that the book sometimes has you establish it on the sleeve and then put it on the bodice. I just do it the opposite way. So again, for the back piece, it's going to be 1/3 the total distance or 3 inches. This is on that sheet that I handed out. But on the back, we have the double notch. So you will measure 3 inches up, notch it, 3.5 inches up, and notch it. So you have a double notch for the back and a single notch for the front. Then what you want to do is take that pattern. Can I borrow your sloper? This is not going to work, but come over to my little space here and I'll show you how you walk the pattern. I'm going to do it to the original. It's not going to work the way that yours is because you have a blouse block and I have a sleeve for a shirt. Here, I just don't have it separated to take that onto here. So pretend it's that I'm using. So you're going to take your first of all, I'm going to measure the 3 inches on the bodice. You could use a tape measure, it's more accurate. What I would suggest not doing is this, because this will break, and I have seen it happen. So that is not going to work that well. I'm now going to walk this sleeve onto my sleeve, well, this blouse block onto the sleeve. This is our front, that's our back. So this is my copy. I just have the essential information on here. Grain line, placket location, outline, bicep, elbow, and then the curved wrist. But you're going to take your blouse block after you put your notch on it and walk it. This means, well, what I'm doing is walking the sleeve. You can use an awl so that you can pivot it.
Baby doll.
So pretend that's the blouse block. You're just going to walk this on your sleeve. We're figuring out where the cap notch goes. So you have 3 notches on a sleeve. You have the front notch, the back notch, and the cap. And that's what you are being shown. So when I get up to the notch that's on my blouse block, I will then record it there. So there's my front notch. And I keep walking this because I want to know how much ease do I have. When a sleeve is made, the cap is larger than the armhole that you're putting it in. It's for wearability. If you had it exactly the same, then this would be pulling down, and when you lifted your arm up, then that seam would rip out. So there's extra in the cap. So you just keep on, don't talk about it like I am, because I keep on shifting this. If it shifts, start all over, but because I marked that, I can start at least here, not at the beginning. So really, you just do this. You don't have to talk about it unless you're doing a YouTube video, you're doing a reel. It's a thread. Now I'm going to mark where it ends. This is just for me to know that's where my front ends. I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna measure 3 and 3.5. Tape measure is far better than this. Not terribly accurate if it shifts. No, I'm fine. Because we have it here. So there was one, but I'm not gonna change it.
Okay.
Because it was already on the pattern when I gave it to you. But now this blouse block is larger, so this has shifted, so it's no longer in the right position. So I'm gonna flip that, and on the back, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna walk the pattern until I get to my notch. So there's my back, and I'm gonna continue walking this until I find out where it ends. And the space in between where the back and the front ends is the ease that I have in the cap. And that ease in the cap will tell me what I really need to do. It depends, and I'm sorry to tell you that I cannot give you like a cheat sheet as to how much ease you should have. If you're doing something that's just out of a bodice, out of muslin, you could have 3/4 of an inch, 1.5 inches, an inch ease. If you're doing a shirt, you should just have 1/2 inch. So this is where my back ends. So the front ends there, the back ends there. What this means is that I have that amount of excess that I need to shrink in by running my basting stitches to get that to fit in here. You will not have this much, I hope, because then there's something wrong. This is not really a blouse block, people. But your blouse block should end up so that it's like there, or you should have like a 1/2 inch. What you don't want is the back to go past. Sleeves are not the easiest things to know. It might take you weeks. I have hired people to do sleeves because I've run into issues with sleeves, and it's taken weeks and weeks to figure it out. But you should have about a 1/2 inch in between the front and the back. When you find out how much you have, you need to find the center point between those two, and that, I'm exaggerating this all, it should be towards the front. And your notch should technically be 1/4 of an inch to the front of center, which is the grain line. So it should be roughly there. If it's way down here, something's wrong. If it's way back there, something's wrong, obviously. But what you don't want is the back to walk past the center of it. So it should not be over here. There's something, this length needs to be changed. It needs to be, think of it as a pond. It needs, you know, this is a shorter distance through the pond if you could walk on water. But this is a much longer distance around the pond. So think of Lake Michigan. To get to Michigan, around Lake Michigan, it takes you longer than it does if you went through it. But then you wouldn't make it, I'm sorry. So something needs to happen here where this is longer. It takes you a longer distance to get to the top here. If the back goes past the front. If the front goes past the back, then that means that your front is way over here and something is wrong with the shape. So in an ideal world, what should happen is that about 1/4 of an inch towards the front, your notch or the center of the front and the back should be located. So if this is technically my back, according to this, and my front, I need to find the center of that, which is like right there. So that's where technically my notch would go. It's a little extreme, but what this actually means is that when you attach this to this bodice, it's going to tilt forward, is what it all boils down to. Again, like I said, your arm doesn't hang straight down off your body. It tilts forward. So that cap is in line with the shoulder seam. And if it's forward, then the sleeve is forward. Meaning that the tilt of the sleeve, instead of it being like this, it's gonna, it depends on what side you're doing. That cap notch correlates to where the shoulder seam is on the garment. Instead of it hanging straight down the body, because it's forward, it's gonna tilt forward. That's what it boils down to. But because it's a shirt and it's oversized, you only need about a 1/2 inch because it's not really benefiting you by having more. And if you have done everything correctly, you should find out that you have a 1/2 inch. But I won't know by looking at it unless you tell me where the front and the back end. Does that make sense? Because this is much longer than that, it is probably much better from that one. Like you have to use the blouse block.
Okay.
But again, figure out if you have the issue. If you have an issue with it, it should be so that you know where it is. In menswear, we were taught to just place the notch there and then to work backwards. So we would place the notch there, and then we would measure this length. Essentially, this length should be equal to this length. This is not the blouse block. This length should be equal to that length. And in between, you should have about a 1/2 inch. So if that were the case, that could be there, and let's say that is there. So there's the 1/2 inch, and then the notch is just in between. But don't fake it, because we're gonna know, because it's all visual then after you make the sample. Don't just appease everyone by putting by putting the notch where it's supposed to be, because it really will tell you whether or not something needs to be changed, because you're gonna have issues down the road. And you're gonna find out that your sleeve is like this if it's not properly done. It should be tilted forward, just like the body is. Does anybody have any questions? Take the blouse block, figure out where your notches hit. 3 inches, 3.5. So that's 3.5, 3 inches. And then walk it on here and transfer the notches to the front and the back. And then figure out like where it ends on the front and the back. You should have a 1/2 inch in between the ends of it all. So it should end up something like that, closer, so you only have a 1/2 inch. And it explains that in the book somewhere. Any questions on that? In a few, I'm going to show you the cuff, which is just on the next page. I'm sorry, on the next page.